I was back in the army.
It is hard to believe that more than 7 decades have passed since White Christmas first appeared on the small screen. I still remember the feeling of huddling in front of the bulky black and white TV, the pale blue light reflecting on the wall, the clicking sound of the vinyl record spinning slowly, and the whole family holding their breath. When Bing Crosby began to sing, "I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas," curious about the cheerful sisters dance in matching blue dresses, the amusing cross-dressing moment of Bing and Danny. All of it created a colourful white Christmas in my childhood. But the more I rewatch it, the more I discover strange behind-the-scenes details that I completely did not notice at first. Did you know that Bing Crosby, the ideal father on screen, turned out to be a demon disguised as a human in real life? Or that the truth behind the romantic falling snow on the stage took the lives of many performers? And that the glamorous dresses of Edith Head were in fact a form of physical torture, causing actresses to faint under the hot lights? Today, we will reopen the darkest and strangest backstage doors of White Christmas. 20. Bing Crosby in real life was a domestic abuser. Back then, when the voice of Bing Crosby, the man who played Bob Wallace, sang, "I'm dreaming of a white Christmas" from an old radio, I firmly believed that he was the ideal man. A warm voice, a gentle smile, the father every child dreamed of. His image in White Christmas, calm, tolerant, always protective, was deeply etched into the memory of an entire generation. But the truth behind it shattered all my illusions. Completely opposite to that perfect appearance, Bing Crosby in real life was a harsh father, notorious for beatings and iron-fisted control. His eldest son, Gary Crosby, in the 1983 memoir Going My Own Way, described in detail being beaten with a belt until bleeding public insults about weight and appearance and authoritarianism covering every aspect of family life. Gary once said, "My father beat us calling it discipline." Another brother, Philip, reacted angrily. "Gary complains a lot. I was happy even when I was beaten." But Lindsay supported him. "I hope the book clears up old rumours," Rosemary Clooney, a close co-star, later whispered. On set, he was a gentleman. But I heard about what happened behind his house doors. And then, when Bing Crosby died in 1977 from a heart attack right after a round of golf, many family members still kept their distance. Old Christmas memories, once heartbreakingly sweet, now carried a deep, lingering sadness, like the very song White Christmas that he sang. 19. The snow in the film caused cancer for the entire crew. Few people know that behind the white, romantic falling snow scenes in White Christmas lay a silent tragedy, that snow was once asbestos, a deadly cancer-causing substance that Hollywood in the 1950s used to create fake snow effects. Not only using safe soap flakes, some scenes still scattered chrysotile asbestos powder, light beautifully floating under the scorching VistaVision lights, but harmful when inhaled over time. You can imagine the film set back then. White dust everywhere, extras and dancers performing for hours, breathing air full of asbestos without knowing it. One dancer who participated recalled, "We coughed violently thinking it was just ordinary dust, not knowing it was eating away at our lungs." Later, many crew members suffered from chronic lung disease, lung cancer, but there were no official records, no compensation, no apology. An internal medical report once noted, "Mixed asbestos powder harmed at least a few people, but the film had to be beautiful." Rosemary Clooney, "Lucky to have little exposure later, said I got away, but my friends did not. They left earlier than expected." Christmas built on human health, a chilling truth that makes us look again at the sparkling snow on screen with an unavoidable shudder. Those white particles were not magic, but a reminder of the price Hollywood once paid with other people's lives in exchange for perfect beauty on film. 18. Rosemary Clooney was heavily addicted to medication for many years. Every time Rosemary Clooney appeared, I could feel the gentle warmth in her voice, sweet, intimate like an older sister singing lullabies to an entire generation. in songs like Sisters or Count Your Blessings. On the screen of White Christmas, she was a symbol of Christmas joy, a radiant smile, sparkling eyes. But behind the stage lights, Rosemary's life was a chain of accumulated tragedies leading to severe drug addiction for many years. In 1968, Rosemary witnessed firsthand the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy right at the Ambassador Hotel, only a few meters away from her. The gunshots, blood and chaos cut deeply into her soul. Combined with relentless professional pressure, from recording sessions and performances to a broken marriage, she gradually collapsed. Tranquilizers, sleeping pills and painkillers became her only support. At one point, she could no longer distinguish between real life and the stage. Rosemary once recounted in her autobiography, "I hear the gunshots every night, even though many years have passed." Her personal doctor said, "Hollywood does not forgive weakness." It pushed her into the spiral. Kaye, a close co-star, recalled she forgot her lines, sometimes thinking she was really performing in the middle of the set. The breakdown in 1968 was not accidental. It was the accumulated result of wounds no one could see. Many years later, when she returned to singing, her voice was still beautiful but carried a deep sadness. 17. Michael Curtiz, a dictatorial director shouting and insulting actors. It is hard to believe that Michael Curtiz, the man who turned White Christmas into a warm, joyful musical masterpiece, was a dictatorial director who made the set a tense battlefield. He was famous for shouting and scolding in a mixed Hungarian-accented English that was sometimes impossible to understand. Female actors suffered the most, being directly called stupid cow, having scripts thrown in their faces until they cried. Vera-Ellen once whispered to a co-star, "He made me cry right in the middle of the set." Bing Crosby, who rarely complained, still recalled, "Curtiz shouted in a mixed language, we just bowed our heads and continued." A backstage assistant wrote in a diary, "Female actors had to endure the most he told them to stand still like statues if they did not meet his demands." Rosemary Clooney, with her constant smile, later said, with a sad laugh, "The film looks cheerful on screen, but filming was like hell. No one dared to breathe loudly." That atmosphere was completely opposite to the gentle falling snow, lively singing, and warm smiles the audience saw. Curtiz, with 102 films and an Oscar for Casablanca, was a legend, but also a nightmare for many actors. 16. Carl Alfalfa. Switzer died in very filthy circumstances. On old Saturday afternoons, when the whole family gathered around the black and white TV, the boy Alfalfa, with messy hair and an off-key singing voice, always made everyone laugh uncontrollably in The Little Rascals. Yet Carl Switzer, Alfalfa himself, only passed through White Christmas in a small photograph, then ended his life in a horrific tragedy in 1959 at the age of 31. The death occurred in a shabby house in Mission Hills, California, a dispute over $50 involving a hunting dog. The argument erupted amid alcohol and cigarettes. Words exchanged, knife threats, then a gunshot rang out in the night. Blood flooded the floor, the smell of gunpowder mixed with the strong stench of alcohol. A witness recalled he shouted, "Give me the dog money now," and pulled out a knife. Police records stated the bullet pierced the abdomen. Switzer died on the spot in a pool of blood. An old friend sighed. From famous child star to a drifter. Hollywood forgot him too quickly. Carl's younger brother whispered, "It was not an accident, but the tragic end of a broken dream." That filthy death was a cold warning. Hollywood once swallowed talented children, then discarded them when the spotlight faded. Looking back at Carl's small photograph in White Christmas, one cannot help but shudder. The childhood smile of long ago is now only a sad memory lost amid the artificial falling snow. 15. Edith Head and the haunting dresses in White Christmas. Whenever I think of White Christmas, I remember the dazzling dresses, the bright black dress in Love You Didn't Do Right By Me, the matching blue dresses in Sisters, and the sparkling evening gowns in the finale. All were created by the talented hands of Edith Head, the most powerful costume designer of classic Hollywood, holder of a record 8 Oscars, but that beauty came at a high price. The heavy evening gowns with multiple layers of fabric sequins and feathers, some weighing up to 7 to 9 kilograms. Under the extremely hot VistaVision lights, actors had to endure hours drenched in sweat dehydration, back pain, shoulder pain, even fainting during filming. Vera-Ellen once said, "The dress was as heavy as stone, I nearly collapsed after each dance." Edith Head told reporters, "Clothes must tell a story, even if comfort has to be sacrificed." A seamstress on the crew noted the lights were 40 degrees. The women sweated like bathing, but had to keep smiling. Rosemary Clooney said with a sad laugh, "It looks beautiful on screen, but wearing it was like torture." Edith Head used costumes to manipulate image power and even sexuality. But behind the silk lay real physical pain. Those haunting dresses remind me that perfect beauty on film is often built from silent human endurance. 14. The song. White Christmas itself is funeral music. Few may realise that behind the familiar melody and heartfelt lyrics of White Christmas lies a deep sadness, almost the nature of a funeral piece rather than a lively Christmas song. When Bing Crosby sings, "I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know." The slow tempo, the mournful melody, the lyrics full of nostalgia for holidays long past. It is not present joy, but a painful longing for something lost forever. Irving Berlin composed the song in loneliness amid the heat of California, missing the white snow of childhood New York, missing old Christmases that would never return. He once told Bing Crosby right in the recording studio, "I wrote it on a sad night not to make people happy." Bing replied gently, "It is not happy, it is longing, and that is its strength." A music critic of the time noted, "The rhythm is like church bells echoing in the fog, the words like a farewell." Berlin later admitted in an interview, "My Christmas always carries a bit of sadness. That is how I feel the holiday, not loud laughter. It is precisely that melancholy that has allowed the song to touch the hearts of millions across decades." When listening again today amid other lively Christmas songs. 13. The scene of Bing and Danny cross-dressing was completely not in the script. One of the funniest moments in White Christmas, the scene of Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye wearing dresses, wigs and dancing in Sisters, turned out to have been born from an improvised April Fool's joke on set. That day, Danny Kaye ran into the dressing room, tried on one of Vera-Ellen's dresses, then pulled Bing along. The two laughed uncontrollably, clumsily, reenacting the Sisters dance. Director Michael Curtis happened to walk by, stopped, his eyes lit up. He immediately called the screenwriter. "Rewrite the script, this scene must be included." From a joke, it became a classic scene, one of the most memorable, humorous moments in Hollywood musical history. Danny Kaye later recalled, "I was just joking, who knew it would become a big scene?" Bing Crosby laughed loudly. "We broke character the whole time, but Curtis said, 'Keep that clumsiness.'" Vera-Ellen remembered. "They laughed so much that filming took half a day, but that naturalness made the scene better than any script." The cross-dressing scene not only brought laughter, but also showed the flexibility of the crew. From a prank, it suddenly became an icon. 12. Danny Kaye was an unavoidable choice. The role of Phil Davis in White Christmas was originally not intended for Danny Kaye. Fred Astaire was invited first, but declined because of age and schedule. Then Donald O'Connor took the role prepared to shoot, but suddenly fell seriously ill right before the start date. Paramount fell into a dead end. Danny Kaye at that time, at the peak of his career, demanded a sky-high salary, higher than even Bing Crosby. Paramount reluctantly agreed because there was no other option. Yet the role seemed to be born for him. His agility, improvisational ability, and natural humour made Phil Davis come alive. Fred Astaire later said, "I was old. I could no longer dance." Donald O'Connor called "I am seriously ill." "I'm sorry, everyone." Danny Kaye laughed loudly when signing the contract, pay double. "I'll take it right away," Bing Crosby recalled. He talked non-stop in real life. We had to cut scenes constantly because the improvisation went too far. A producer sighed. Unavoidable, but lucky. Danny saved the whole film. From a last choice, Kaye turned the role into an icon. Thanks to him, White Christmas achieved a perfect balance between Bing's warm, deep voice and Danny's explosive energy. An unexpected but perfect combination. 11. A fake performance to trick Greek royalty. A director's assistant once wrote in a behind-the-scenes diary, "That day the entire crew nearly had heart attacks when they learned that King Paul and Queen Frederica of Greece were about to visit unexpectedly." Bing Crosby, the main star, had gone golfing early in the morning, leaving a huge gap on the set. Unable to cancel the royal schedule, Michael Curtiz quickly arranged a fake performance. The entire cast stood in position, lip-syncing to a pre-recorded track. Bing's voice still echoed from the speakers, even though he was not present. The royalty sat watching, applauding enthusiastically, completely, unaware they were witnessing a refined piece of acting. Queen Frederica turned and asked, "Where is Mr. Crosby? Why don't we see him singing live?" The director forced a smile and replied, "He is busy with something. But listen, the voice is still wonderful as always." Rosemary Clooney later told friends, "We lip-synced. Our hearts were pounding, afraid it would be exposed at any moment." Someone on the crew whispered, "The king praised the duet, we could only bow and thank him full of worry." That trick on the royalty became a humorous yet dramatic memory, proof of the professionalism and lightning-fast improvisation of the White Christmas crew, even when the main star was absent. 10. Bing Crosby once withdrew from the project because of his wife's death. Almost no fans of the film know that in late 1953, when all of Hollywood was excitedly preparing for White Christmas, Bing Crosby suddenly disappeared from the set. The reason was that Dixie Lee, his wife of 22 years, had died of ovarian cancer just weeks before filming began. Bing, the man who had always smiled in front of the camera, chose to leave everything behind, returning to his home in Holmby Hills, shutting himself off from the world, staying with his 4 young children. He wrote to Paramount, "I am not filming anymore. Family must come first." His children recalled long nights when he sat alone in the living room, watching old records spin slowly, saying nothing. Director Michael Curtiz and Irving Berlin had to persuade him repeatedly, film Bing to forget the pain. He eventually returned, but the fatigue on screen was not acting. It was real. Bing later admitted to friends, "Every singing scene I thought of Dixie. That smile was an effort." His son Gary remembered father returned to the set like a different person. Eyes sunken, voice deeper. That pain unintentionally added depth to the character Bob Wallace, a mature man hiding sorrow behind smiles and songs. 9. Irving Berlin was haunted by his own song, Irving Berlin. The man who wrote White Christmas, the best-selling Christmas song in history, was also the one most afraid of his own creation. When recording the original version in 1942, Berlin trembled so much that Bing Crosby had to reassure him right in the studio. He worried, "It's terrible, it will fail miserably." Bing patted his shoulder and said softly, "This is the best ever, trust me." A technician standing outside the glass noted, Berlin was worried to the point of illness, pacing back and forth, muttering, "It's not sad enough, not real enough." Berlin wrote the song out of deep longing for snowy New York Christmases of his childhood while living in the heat of California. He once said, "I was afraid people would think it was sentimental." But Bing was right. The song became an icon, sold millions of copies, and was sung on every World War II battlefield to comfort American soldiers. Berlin later laughed sadly. "Luckily, Bing insisted otherwise, I would have destroyed it." That detail makes us look back at White Christmas with a shiver. A masterpiece born from the creator's own fear and the performer's trust. That haunting, strangely enough, made the song even deeper and immortal. 8. 2 soundtrack albums. Neither matches the film. Have you ever bought the White Christmas soundtrack and been surprised to find Rosemary Clooney's voice missing from the official release? That was not a mistake. It was a clever business strategy by two record labels of the time. Decca Records, long associated with Bing Crosby, kept the official soundtrack containing only Bing and Danny Kaye, completely without Rosemary. Columbia Records released a separate album for Rosemary Clooney with different solo and duet versions. The result, only by watching the film could audiences hear the real duets between Bing and Rosemary. Sisters Snow Count Your Blessings, the most beautiful moments. Decca stated plainly, only Bing audiences buy because of him. Columbia replied, Rosemary needs her own album for promotion. Bing Crosby laughed when asked, if you want the real thing, you have to watch the movie. The record is only half. Those two separate albums created an interesting paradox. The best film music existed fully only on screen, not on vinyl. A small detail, but it reminds us that sometimes Hollywood keeps its most beautiful things only for loyal audiences sitting in the dark theatre. 7. The cross-dressing scene could not be finished because of laughter. I always laugh at the scene of Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye wearing dresses, wigs and clumsily dancing in Sisters. Few people know that the scene could not be finished. Not because of technique, but because the two old fathers kept breaking character with real laughter. Danny Kaye kept tripping over the long dress Bing tried to hold back, but eventually burst out laughing. The final take kept their real laughter. Uncontrollable smiles, eyes watery from laughing too much. Director Michael Curtiz shouted, "Again! But don't fix the smiles. Keep them." Danny recalled, "I looked too ridiculous. I couldn't hold it." Looking at Bing, Bing replied, "He made me break character constantly. We shot all day." Vera-Ellen remembered real laughter made the scene more truthful than any acting. That clumsiness and imperfection created a strange charm. Watching it again, we feel genuine joy. Not acting, but the moment two old friends were truly happy on set. A failed take suddenly became classic thanks to uncontrollable laughter. 6. The song lyrics had to be changed because Bing Crosby was the lead. When watching White Christmas, the scene of Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye cross-dressing and singing Sisters with fake seriousness makes everyone laugh. But few know that the original lyrics had to be changed solely because Bing Crosby was the main star of the film. Originally, in the song Sisters, the lyrics mentioned the sisters watching Bing Crosby perform, a playful self-referential joke about his stage appeal. But when the script was finalised and Bing Crosby was confirmed as Bob Wallace, the main character, it was impossible for his own character to sing about watching Bing Crosby. That would break the internal logic and jolt the audience. The producers and Irving Berlin quickly changed the lyrics, replacing Bing Crosby with Jack Benny, a famous comedian of the time who often appeared on radio and television with Bing. The line became "watching Jack Benny on TV" instead. Bing Crosby laughed loudly when he learned, "Good thing they changed it, otherwise I'd be singing about myself, that would be strange." That change proves the crew's meticulous care. Even a single word in a song had to make sense within the film's world. 5. The sandwich scene and the dream were completely improvised. Do you remember the scene where Bing Crosby holds a sandwich eats while talking about a dream of Vermont in White Christmas? To me, this is quite an interesting detail, but it turns out the entire scene was improvised. Not a single word existed in the original script. While filming the hotel room scene, Bing naturally picked up the sandwich on the prop table, took a bite and started saying, "Eating a turkey dream makes you dream about a hot girl." Danny Kaye laughed along and the two continued talking naturally as if they were having a real conversation. Director Michael Curtiz shouted, "Keep it, don't cut." From a spontaneous moment, it became a rare everyday scene amid carefully staged musical numbers. Danny Kaye recalled Bing just grabbed the sandwich, "I could only laugh along." Bing Crosby later said, "I was really hungry, so I ate. Who knew it would become a good scene?" Rosemary Clooney remembered, "It made the film more intimate, like watching friends talk instead of acting." A screenwriter noted Curtis said, "Real life is more beautiful than the script." That spontaneity brought a sense of reality to White Christmas, a classic musical that is often too perfect, too staged. The sandwich scene became the warmest moment, reminding us that sometimes the most beautiful things are born from moments no one expects. 4. The ages on screen completely fooled the audience. Few people know that Vera-Ellen, who played Rosemary Clooney's younger sister, was actually 7 years older than her, and Bing Crosby was up to 25 years older than both female leads. Thanks to lighting makeup and clever camera work, audiences at the time did not notice the age gap at all. Vera-Ellen, born in 1918, was already 35 during filming, while Rosemary Clooney was only 28. Bing Crosby, born in 1903, was already 52, twice the age of his female co-stars. Director Curtis used soft lighting, low-angle shots and heavy makeup to make Bing look younger and Vera-Ellen younger than Rosemary. Vera-Ellen whispered to a friend, "I'm older, but makeup hides everything." Bing Crosby laughed loudly. "Age is just a number, what matters is singing well." The director told the crew, "Lighting creates miracles, don't worry." Fans of the time admitted no one noticed they looked like a perfect couple. That deception was the secret of classic Hollywood, creating ideal images without needing the truth. 3. Profit sharing as a gamble. Anyone would be surprised to learn that White Christmas was produced with a budget of only $2 million USD, but earned $12 million USD, equivalent to about $140 million USD today. Bing Crosby and Irving Berlin each received up to 30% of the profits, a rare gamble deal in Hollywood history. When Paramount hesitated over the budget, Bing and Berlin proposed, "We'll take percentages instead of fixed salaries." The studio agreed immediately. They believed in Bing's appeal and the song White Christmas. The result, both became the richest people from this film, far surpassing normal actor salaries. Bing Crosby said to Berlin, "Let's bet the film will be a big hit." Irving Berlin nodded 30%, each no negotiation. A producer later laughed, "We agreed and got very rich." An internal financial report recorded huge profits thanks to the percentage agreement. That deal not only brought money but also showed the confidence of two icons in the project. White Christmas was not just a Christmas film. It was also a hugely successful gamble where talent and risk were rewarded fairly. 2. The film tested VistaVision technology. One of the special points of White Christmas is that it was shot in VistaVision, a new widescreen format developed by Paramount with double the image area of standard 35mm. This was an important experiment, a precursor to IMAX and modern visual technologies. Technicians said the image was wider, details sharper. The falling snow looked real. Bing Crosby was excited. The big screen makes singing better. The audience will feel every note clearly. Director Curtis said, VistaVision makes films vivid. We are ahead of our time. Irving Berlin added, beautiful images make the music deeper. VistaVision allowed filming large crowds and big dance numbers without losing detail, ideal for grand musical scenes like Sisters or the snowy finale. Although later replaced by other formats, White Christmas remains living proof of that technological step forward. Watching the remastered version today, we can still feel the difference. Clear images, vivid colours. A reminder that as early as 1954, Hollywood already dreamed of the wide, detailed screen we now consider normal. 1. The song. Snow was originally not a Christmas song. Did you know that the song Snow, one of the most classic Christmas songs of White Christmas, was actually not written for the holiday at all? Originally, the melody came from Irving Berlin's musical Call Me Madam in 1950, with completely different lyrics. Berlin kept the melody, only changing the lyrics to fit the snowy scene in the film. He said, "The old music was very good. I just needed new lyrics to make a perfect Christmas song." Bing Crosby tested it. It was born to be sung about snow. Director Curtis said, "Put it in the film immediately, it cannot be missing." Fans at the time commented, "It sounds like it was written specifically for White Christmas." From an old song, snow was reborn as a winter symbol, cheerful lyrics about falling snow trains and Christmas joy. That rebirth shows Berlin's talent turning the old into something new and immortal. Listening again today, we can still feel that magic. A song not born for Christmas, but that ultimately became its soul. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you won't miss our next videos. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video.